Hello, I'm E-House.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're here from Gun Gamers. Now, it's a little known fact that while we are full-time idiots, we are part-time amateur scientists. And as amateur scientists, we've been very interested in the whole FireClean debacle.
Absolutely.
Now, there was an interesting question you raised about it when the news broke that FireClean was probably nothing but canola oil.
Yeah, I mean, it gives us an option to, do we have a really cheap but effective cleaner on the market now that we just didn't realize we had all of this time? And it's a fair question.
Well, to test that, we've got here a couple of guns that haven't been cleaned in, a few hundred rounds, cleaned or lubricated. And we have a bottle of 100% canola oil. So we're just going to, real quick, apply some canola oil, do some shooting, and see what happens. So first of all, obviously, magazine out, chamber clear. This gun is good to go. Magazine out, chamber clear. This gun's good to go.
And my Glock is already in pieces, so it is most definitely clear. But here's a barrel.
Yep.
It's empty.
So obviously you want to do that before you start cleaning. Brought a couple of rags, so you grab one rag and some oil, and I'll grab the other.
I believe this rag is still in one piece. We're going to need to fix that.
Is it? Yeah. We'll have to cut it. We never have knives on us. That's a problem we have.
Cut that evenly. There we go. Close enough.
Alright. So there's still a little bit of oil from my last cleaning on here. I'm just going to wipe that off to eliminate the possibility that the canola oil mixes with the dedicated firearms oil. You can see here I got some nice carbon buildup on my gas piston for my Sega.
My Glock is mostly clean, but it is also bone dry. Before we start filming this video, I ran about another 50 rounds through it, just to get a little bit of dirt on there. So mostly it's going from a dry, slightly dirty platform into just applying lubricant and seeing how that does for the gun. Yeah. But it is a Glock, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem, is we are testing this with an AK and a Glock, which you can lubricate with various things and they don't seem to care. But we're also testing this with an Ares SCR, which will probably be a little more temperamental than your standard AK and Glock. And whoop, that's a lot of canola oil.
Needs more lube.
Yeah. Now that's the one tough part about this, is canola oil does not come in a firearms friendly container. It is a little tough to get it to come out in a reasonable amount. Now, the canola oil does seem to be more than just the dry rag. It does seem to be acting a little bit as a solvent, getting a little bit of that carbon buildup off. I mean, to get most of it off, I would need a
brush.
Yeah, I would need a metal brush.
Yeah, because mine, I just ran 50 rounds for it, and just wiping it with the canola oil, I'm pulling a surprising amount of dirt off, and I didn't just scrub it, as I'm sure you just saw. So it is getting some off, and I'm sure if you scrubbed it, it would all come off pretty much just the same as any gun lube would.
Yeah, I mean, as far as, comparing this to pretty much any other gun oil I've used other than a dedicated solvent, this is pretty much getting off as much carbon buildup. I would really need a wire brush to get off more of the carbon buildup on this gas block, or not this gas block, this gas piston. But yeah, I mean, it seems to be spreading and wiping just like pretty much any gun oil I've used.
And here's an example. All the faceplate on the Glock, I don't know if it'll be able to see there, but it just wiped all the loose carbon buildup that I just put on it straight off with a single wipe. So it seems like this might work.
Yeah. Now obviously canola oil is a cooking oil that could possibly light on fire, so I'm just trying to use a dry portion of the rag to make sure there's no loose oil up in the gas piston area, because I do not want to have a fire. That is not what I'm trying to do.
Doesn't it take, I think it's like over 400 degrees probably it wouldn't light on fire till.
Yeah, but still, I don't want to take that chance if I can avoid it.
So the question is today, will we light our guns on fire?
That will be part of the science. Now this bolt, the actual bolt here, had just a little bit of grime and carbon on it, and that seems to be getting that off pretty well also. So canola oil being used to clean your gun works about as well as any other oil. I mean, you would need a solvent and a wire brush to really get more dirty Russian ammo carbon buildup off, but seems to work. Just gonna
Start
hit the rails in here with a bit of oil.
Unsurprisingly, the bottle does not indicate at what temperature it will self-ignite. I wouldn't really expect to see that on cooking oil though, and it's probably not on your gun bottles either. But we'll find out.
Yeah, maybe we'll have something really entertaining to show you guys. I'm sure.
That would be quite the YouTube. This is why you don't use canola oil, because your gun just lit on fire.
Alright, so yeah, so I've just basically wiped down the rails and the inside of my lower receiver with the canola oil. I got my bolt all nice and lubricated with that canola oil, nice little coat of oil in there. Nothing too crazy.
You know what we really should test next, if this works, is if it's abrasive on airsoft guns.
We could do that actually, because we could see if it would damage the O-rings and whatnot.
Exactly.
This could be cheaper than silicone oil.
Yeah. And just having a universal cleaner has its own benefits. I mean, obviously, when you're using a propane-based system, you're going to probably want some silicone oil in it, but maybe this will work. I don't know.
Yeah, we could test it on your WEM4.
Yeah.
See, if it helps out with the. I mean, you don't really lubricate AEGs too much except around the gears, which a grease really works better for. But
correct. Yeah.
For gas blowbacks, you could absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some, carbon and whatnot inside this AK dust cover. Going back to real guns for a second, and seems to have wiped that off just fine. Again, just like any other gun oil I've used. So, as far as oils go, at least in terms of when we're cleaning it, it does seem to work just about as well as anything else I've used that's an oil rather than a cleaner. Action feels smooth. So yeah.
You know what we should possibly do? We should see if we can get some slow motion footage of it going off and see if we can splice that in and see how it compares.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I have some slow motion Glock footage too, so then we can put them and just compare and contrast them and see if it looks any different and how it cycles.
That sounds like a plan. Alright, and then I've got here my SCR. Just gonna apply some oil to this too. Thank you, Aries, for using captive pins.
Yeah, more things in life need captive pins. Like my Wii.
You had captive pins until you totally botched it up.
It's fine.
Alright, so I mean, this is an AR platform, so
if anything's gonna fail, it's gonna be that.
yeah, if anything is going to suffer any kind of failure, it's probably not going to be the Glock, it's probably not going to be the AK, it's probably going to be this. Plus this gun, a little bit is somewhat temperamental sometimes, just because the tolerances between the bolt and the bolt carrier are super tight. I mean, this is, occasionally it will fail to fully seat. It's really stiff with the gas O-rings, well, kind of O-rings, the metal gas rings in there. So we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna, get some oil on here. Try to. I mean, this one doesn't have a ton of carbon buildup on it, just because of various reasons that are particular to the AR platform and to the ammo I've been using.
Now, are you going to be running? What kind of ammo are you going to be running through that?
This one today is just gonna be toolless steel case.
Toolless steel case. Okay, so the lowest
But
pressure.
I was running that brass case that we got a super good deal on at that gun show.
Correct.
That was what I was running.
The Tula is going to be pretty much the best in terms of testing how it could affect it because Tula ammo is so low pressure.
Yeah, and it's kind of crappy as far as 5.56 goes.
Crappy would definitely. It's not. Well, this is 223, isn't it?
Yeah, 223. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a good situation to test whether or not it could possibly fail, because it's going to fail. It's going to fail. Okay. Another observation, there was just a little bit of carbon and gas right inside the receiver, and as I'm wiping it down with the oil, a good bit of it is coming off. So again, another observation, it seems to be working like many other gun-specific oils in removing a lot of that carbon and gas buildup, and can't complain about that for, what, $3 or $4 for a big bottle of it?
Yeah, are you kidding?
Versus $20 for a little bottle of FireClean?
Yeah. Now, traditionally, I always used REM oil in my guns. It's just, the first cleaning bottle I got, I liked how it worked. And, but I was never a fan of using, toxic, borderline, materials that, you don't want to, you have to worry about kind of your exposure to it in the long term. In one sense, if this works good, it gives you that huge advantage where it's healthier for you to use this stuff. So why not? I mean, But overall, I suspect this is going to work great because I've seen people who run like motor oil through their AKs to lube them.
Yeah.
So the chances of something going wrong with this on the Glock or the AK are pretty much zero. But I mean, you know what? You know, we may have to do a follow-up part 2 to this after and see how many rounds we can throw through these things before we start to have problems with them.
It's not a bad idea. We'll probably have to do that.
And I'm a bad firearms owner when it comes to cleaning my guns, especially my Glock. So I will definitely do that.
Ah, come on, this bolt just doesn't want to go back in properly. There we go, that's why. There we are.
Oh, fall allergies.
Those are fun. Okay, then we gotta get this thing back together in its very particular manner. There's one downside of the SCR versus other AR platforms.
Okay.
Alright,
There we go.
we're good to go.
Alright, and so now we're going to try a Glock slathered in canola oil and see how it does. And we got a target, I'm about probably 30-35 yards from a 10-inch steel gong right now. Works fine. Didn't notice anything weird about it. Let's try, let's run a little faster, and I got some Tula ammo on the top of this one. Let me see, what can I run that won't hit the gong that much, but let's see. And one there. Oh, and I missed the one I saved to hit it with. Again, runs fine. I mean, it definitely repelled some of the carbon. It didn't instantly build up on the bore here. So it works just as good as any cleaner that I've used. So, but let's try one more mag. Works great, and that's even with a ported barrel, so if anything was going to affect the cycling, the ported barrels, sometimes they can throw things off a little bit. Runs great with any ammunition that I have. Alright, now that we've ran some of the cheapest and dirtiest ammo through it, I'm going to try and run some 147 grain Federal HST ammo through it, and we're going to see how that goes. By me. Target swings a lot more with this stuff. Well, there was some really poor shooting by me. Gun ran great though. Alright, I just shot 30 rounds through this. Now, I didn't wipe off the carbon on the sides when I was actually cleaning this because I was lazy and just throwing oil on it. But the feed ramp, as you know, when you shoot a polished feed ramp, it gets dirty like immediately the first second you fire it. I just ran 30 rounds of the cheapest, dirtiest ammo that I could find through it, and a surprising amount of this is still pretty clean. It doesn't, and if I just ran my finger, I bet it would just, yeah, just immediately wipes right off. So that's pretty much in line with what FireClean said that it would do, and it also generated a little more smoke. But again, that's exactly what FireClean advertises, that it's taking the carbon and just removing it with each shot rather than sticking it to all the gun components. So chalk this up for another win for really cheap canola oil cleaning.
Alright, so now that we've seen how the canola oil seems to work with the Glock, let's take it up a little bit and let's see how the canola oil Sega seems to be working. I've just got a couple of beer kegs set up down there that I'm going to be shooting at. Nothing special. I am not the best shot in the world either, but that's not what we're testing right now. Right now we are testing if this gun will just work fine with canola oil as its lubricant. So we're going to find out. everything seems to check out. Let's grab another magazine and try again. All right, so I've got a couple more magazines on me here, so let's see if the canola oil continues to impress. I'm gonna try to just mag dump these and try to run the gun fast and see if I can induce any failures. Seems to work fine, so chalk that up as another win for canola oil. I mean, at least in an AK and a Glock, doesn't seem to run into any problems. Kind of smells nice too. All right, so now we've got one last gun here to try the FireClean canola oil with, and that is the Aries Defense SCR. I already anticipate if any of our guns is gonna have a problem with this stuff, it's gonna be this one, because it's already a little bit temperamental. We'll find out. Safety is super stiff on it too. You know what, it seems to work fine, but let's put a few more magazines through it and see if that continues to be the case. All right, so we've got another magazine loaded up here, and I'm just gonna kind of shoot it and keep seeing what happens. Still seems fine. Let's try a couple more. I really want to see if this is gonna fail at all. All right, another magazine loaded up, ready to go. Let's get it rolling. Still no failures. Let's try one more, just for good measure. All right, one last magazine for good measure, just to really see, once and for all, if we can get this thing to fail today. You know what? We had a little pause in firing there because I tried to mash the trigger too fast and ended up kind of half pulling it, but in terms of the gun's performance, everything seems fine. I really can't say it failed at all. I can't say my AK failed. I can't say...
You got that barrel smoking a tiny bit there too.
Yeah, so... It seems to work.
So, as I bitch and moan, what did you think of FireClean overall as I sit here and film this with my phone because our camera battery died?
You mean canola oil?
Haven't we established it's the same difference?
We have. I think overall it has a ton of potential. Now, we only ran, combined total, we only put, 100, 200 rounds through these things. A gun could run dry, especially these kind of guns, and not have an issue in that time frame. So what we're going to continue to do is I'm going to continue to run this gun as it is, and I'm going to probably put 400 or 500 rounds through it and see if it encounters any kind of failure with that kind of just using the canola oil as lubrication. But I suspect that it's going to run great, and once it does, I'm probably going to switch over to cleaning all of my firearms with it.
Yeah, and then as far as I go, I'm probably going to keep using gun oils just because I don't know how vegetable oil is going to smell long term as it starts to go bad.
I will keep an eye on that as well, and we'll see if...
Yeah, so you'll have to keep an eye on that for me, because I'm going to use gun oil, because I know that doesn't smell bad. Because I go months without shooting my guns sometimes, unfortunately, so I don't want to open my gun cabinet one day and end up being greeted by the smell of rotting kitchen.
I guess that's a good point. I mean, you don't have to refrigerate this stuff. This stuff doesn't expire as far as I'm aware.
But we will find out.
We will find out. We will certainly find out. But
so, this is Eric from behind the phone.
This is Kyle.
And, this has been Gun Gamers.